everybody, welcome to the kitchen. We are making Anzac Biscuits today, okay? This recipe is a wonderful recipe from Australia. And the name Anzac comes from for Australia, N for New Zealand, NZ, A for Army, C for Corps. Australia, New Zealand Army Corps cookies. These were made for the soldiers who would go from Australia and New Zealand over to Europe to fight World War I. The cookies were made so that they would not spoil in transit. It would take months for them to get from Australia to Europe because it would travel across the ocean. And they are made with golden syrup, which is this right here, Lyle's Golden Syrup, which is a British product. And I got this at Myers of Keswick in Greenwich Village. And this is similar to corn syrup. It's an invert sugar. And because of that, it helps to preserve it and last a long time. So our ingredients are here and everything is set out. This is called mise en place. This is put in place, French kitchen terminology. Mise en place means put in place. When you're working in the kitchen, you want to have everything in place in order to make your recipe. So I have all of our ingredients here already measured out on the scale, and I have our salt and baking powder measured out with our measuring spoons, and everything is set and ready to go. Our mise en place is finished, and we are ready to now make this recipe. So our first step is we are going to take our dry ingredients and mix them together in this bowl. What I have back here is our butter, which is melting, and our water. We need out of boil. So I'm going to turn that down until I'm ready to measure that. First step is I'm going to measure and mix in our dry ingredients. So we have 21 ounces of old-fashioned oats. This is a large recipe because this is for our school and we're going to be doing it for a lot of students. So large recipes, we usually always use the scale, not measuring cups because we're doing such a large amount. Also, measuring by a scale is more accurate than using a measuring cup. So this recipe is in ounces as opposed to cups. And we have 17 ounces of all-purpose flour. I'm going to measure that in. And we have 15 ounces of granulated sugar and our 8 ounces of flake coconut. And that I'm going to break in because the coconut is pretty sticky, so it tends to clump up. So I'm going to add all of that. And always clean as you go. So these are going to go in the sink. And now I'm going to stir this together. Here are our ingredients, and I'm going to stir them all together. Our oats are at the bottom, flour, sugar, and coconut. I'm going to get it all stirred. And while we're doing that, we're melting our butter and our golden syrup together. And we got our water coming up to a boil, because we do need boiling water. So we just have to turn the heat up. That'll come back to a boil. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our baking soda in this bowl. We'll add a half cup of boiling water to it, and then we'll add in our melted butter and golden syrup. So what we have here are our dry ingredients all mixed together. And now we're going to add our boiling water to the baking soda. I'm going to measure it a half cup. There we go. We're going to add it into our baking soda. And then we're going to add in our melted butter and golden syrup. And it's going to have a reaction, which is really quite interesting. So first we have all these gases being released from the baking soda. And then when we add in the melted butter and the corn syrup, it's going to foam up. So I don't know if, can you see in here? Let me bring the camera closer. See, it's all foaming. So make sure you have a big bowl because it starts to foam up. So if you have a small bowl and it foams up, it might spill over. So always make sure you have a big bowl when you add the butter and the syrup to the boiling water and baking soda. Now we're going to combine the two. All right, so this is pretty thick, so we're going to use a wooden spoon, and we're going to just put in a little bit at a time. And stir it together until it's all combined. The great thing about this recipe is that I don't need to make it in a stand mixer. We have a beautiful stand mixer in here, but this recipe, we just stir it together in a bowl. So, getting all those ingredients mixed in. And once we get it all mixed together, then we're gonna portion them and bake them in the oven. So here is our cookie batter. It's pretty dry, so when you do portion it, you do have to pack it in. And here's our baking sheet. We're going to put them in the oven. And this is a piece of parchment paper. And we're going to use that to put on top of the baking tray so that way it doesn't stick. So I find the easiest way to do this is simply cut in half. We're going to put this on here. And we're going to portion them using a cookie scoop. Okay, so this is about a tablespoon size cookie. We're gonna pack it in, take off the excess. And the reason we wanna use the ice cream scoop to portion it is so that way every cookie is the same size. Because if you have one that's too big, it's gonna take longer to bake than one that's too small, and the small one's gonna overbake before the big one is cooked all the way through. So this recipe also does not spread. So you need to press it down to the palm of your hand after you scoop it. Then I'm going to portion these and put them separate. Another way you can portion it, let's say we want to make bigger ones, okay? So if we want to make a bigger one, we want to make a cookie, let's say 1.5 ounce size. So we're going to use our scale. All right, and we're going to scale out 1.5 ounces of the cookie dough. So I'll just use this to portion it. We press T-A-R-E, tear, to make it 0. And then we're going to look for 1.5 ounces. There we go, 1.5. And then we're just going to simply pack it in, make a ball, see the shape, and then press it down. All right, so this is the 1 tablespoon size scoop. This is 1.5 ounce scoop. And now we can make an even bigger one. Let's try a 2 ounce size cookie and see what we like. Now, if this is just for our students in the school, we're just sending them around, so it's not like we're selling them. But if you're working in a bakery, your cookies need to have a standard size. You can sell them by the cookie individually, which means you need to weigh it beforehand, or you can say, let's say it's by the dozen, or you can weigh the finished cookies and sell your cookies by weight. So if you're gonna make it individual cookies though, you need to weigh the dough beforehand because that's the most accurate, and that way you'll make sure that all your cookies are exactly the same. So that's 2 ounces. So this will be the size of a 2 ounce cookie. You do not want to have a customer come in one day, purchase some cookies, and then the next day they come back and they say, well, these cookies don't look the same size. And well, we weigh our cookies individually so that by weight they are exactly the same. All right, so there is the size difference between the tablespoon, a 1.5 ounce cookie, or a 2 ounce cookie. And depending on what you're going to use the recipe for, you can decide which size is the best for you. And then you bake it at a 300-degree oven, and you're going to bake them until they are golden brown. Here are our beautiful Anzac Biscuits or Oatmeal coconut cookies, right out of the oven. This is the 2 ounce size. They're nice and golden brown. There. out of the oven. And to go over, 21 ounces of old-fashioned oats, 17 ounces of all-purpose flour, 15 ounces of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 8 ounces of sweetened shredded coconut, 8 ounce unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of golden syrup or dark corn syrup, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 1/2 cup of boiling water.